and it's starting.
Okay. Let me,
You're ready?
I'm ready.
All you.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining me today. And I'm so excited. The sun is actually out, though it is a little cool today. Yeah, we've had serious rain, that's for sure.
Serious.
So, yeah. I can't even walk out in my yard. It's just like squish, 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 squish. It's crazy.
I think everybody's just like that.
Yeah. So I didn't really get any replies about what to do today, so I might try something a little weird, something that I really played with once before, and I'll show you in a minute what that is. But before we get started, I do want to show you what we worked on last week. Remember that rimmed bowl? So what I did was, remember one of the things I said was that the rim is always a good place to do some artwork or do something, some kind of design.
Wow.
So what I decided to do is just to make some beads on the outside, and I kind of like the way it looks. And when I put it, I couldn't believe that how beautiful the grain was on this. I want to make sure you guys can see that. Hopefully that's visible.
Oh, it does. Can you show us how deep it is? Show us the side view of it.
I do want to show you a side view because obviously the wood was not as dry as I thought it was. And when I brought it in the house, you could see the rim being really thin, warped.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. But what I do is I put it on a shelf like this, and you really can't notice that too much. And I could still eat oatmeal out of it. It doesn't really matter that much. So I wanted to, I'm gonna put this up here with the rest of the stuff that we've done. So this kind of technique, I don't even know what you call it, but you really just use one tool. It's called the parting tool. And it's about making a design. I'm going to try to make this design on a flat piece of wood, but I've actually seen people use this technique on bowls. And it's really interesting because when they're done, it actually looks like it's like a basket weave rather than a wood turning. It's really very interesting. But I've also seen people do this on a big piece of wood and then use it as a design or like an artwork to put it on a wall. So I'm just going to use this small piece of mahogany right here just to show you the technique. And let me bring this closer so you guys could see what I'm working on here. I'm so glad I finally got my computer to work with this so I can see what's going on. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I want to find the center. And the way you do that is you just basically, you take a straight edge, you go from corner to corner, and then you take the other straight edge. This is 6 inches square. You find the center there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to carve some rings in here and then carve rings on the other side. Now, I already marked off the other side, but I want to, I'm sorry. I want to put a pair of glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. So the first thing I want to do is I want to just figure out where the center is. And I want to move, I'm going to put a mark about 9/16. Let me make sure I'm going in the right direction. 9/16 away from the center. And I'll tell you why in a second. And I also want to go, let's see, I went up on that one. Wait, I went up on that one. So I want to put a mark about 1/8 of an inch below that. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because when I make the rings on one side, I want the rings on the opposite side to be offset, because if I did them both exactly in the same place, I'd go right through the piece and all the rings would fall out. So I also want to use my compass on that spot to find the largest diameter ring that I'm going to make. This way I don't go off the edge. And I'm just gonna make this circle here. And I wanna make sure I got that. All right, so that's the hole I'm gonna use on that side. And this is the one I'm gonna use on this side. Now, like I said, I only wanna cut about halfway through. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my parting tool, and I'm not gonna really measure. I'm just gonna go by eye and measure about how deep, you guys can see that, how far about halfway is on that, maybe just a little bit deeper. And I'm gonna put a piece of tape on here so I know not to go deeper than this piece of tape when I put it on. Now, because this is square, the other tricky part is gonna be mounting this on the lathe. So what I thought of doing was, you could actually, if I was using a bigger piece of wood, I could actually put screws in the four corners and hold up the jig that I have. But since this is such a small piece of wood, I'm hoping that hot glue is gonna hold this. And I'm gonna use my tailstock to make sure that it doesn't go flying too far if it doesn't. All right, let me move that out of the way. Yeah, because you know, that happens. I was working on a bowl. Ken gave me a piece of wood, and I was working on a bowl, and I was just about done, and I messed up, and I got a catch on it, and the bowl literally went flying halfway down my driveway underneath my trailer. I didn't even know where it went. I really didn't know where it went. It just went flying, and I was like, wow. I just ducked out of the way. Luckily, I wasn't standing here.
Yeah.
Got whacked in the face. Luckily, I was actually working on the outside of it. So yeah, got to be, always wear your safety equipment.
I think Ken gave you a subpar piece of wood. I'd blame Ken.
Well, you guys heard that when I give my lawyer this video. You guys were here to listen. Do you hear that, right?
Yeah. I think you need to wear a hockey helmet.
I know nothing.
Nothing. All right. Just taking me a second to set up, guys. All right. I'm gonna try to move this a little bit. This is a little tricky because who's whispering? What'd you say?
Not me.
All right. So what I'll do is I'm gonna work on this side first. It doesn't really matter which side. So on my tailstock, I still have my point on. Hold on the whatever you call this thing. I forgot. Somebody help me. What's this thing called? Oh, my ball bearing center. And I want to see about where that's going to be right there. So let me put a couple of blobs of glue on here, and hopefully this will hold. Put that there. There we go. So that's, and this doesn't have to be exact, so that's pretty good. Now, because I don't want to make a big hole in here, I'm actually going to change the point on my center here to a flat one, so it just pushes in and holds it rather than putting a dent in it. Which is, you can see this one's pointy, and this one just has a flat on it. And I'm gonna push this up against here pretty good. Let me get this out of the way. Alrighty there. All right, I think we're good. So let's turn this on. So now this is the furthest diameter that I could go on the outside. without falling off the edge. So I'm gonna actually make that one first. And really all I'm doing is I'm doing these plunge cuts and I'm going straight in as best I can and up until the tape, okay? So let me get some goggles on here just in case. And let's see what happens. So like I've said in the past many times, always turn it by hand before you turn the lathe on. And that's one of the reasons. The jig was actually hitting the tool rest, the banjo. All right, here we go. So I'm just gonna go straight in with this. Make sure you guys can see. I'm gonna try to get this closer for you. I'm gonna lower this down just a little bit. There we go. Yeah, it's a little better. So you really need to have, I just sharpened this, you really need to have a pretty sharp tool going in. And I'm not being aggressive because it is only being held on by the glue. All right, so that's ring number one. And you could space these at any way you want. I'm just gonna go, all right, you know what? My tailstock's actually in the way, so I'm gonna move it. And hopefully this doesn't come flying off. So I'm gonna put this one about 1/4 of an inch in further. So now that I've removed the tailstock, I'm gonna go really slow. And this whole thing shouldn't take that long, so I actually have a bowl I was going to work on too. This right there. Move over about another 1/4 of an inch. Did I mention this was a piece of mahogany?
Yes.
Make sure we got that. Now, certainly you could do this with any size parting tool. You could use a thin parting tool or a thicker one, depending on what you want it to look like. Hold on. My camera's crashing. Sorry about that. The leg of my tripod just collapsed. I was gonna go a little bit closer with a smaller ring, but I'm noticing that the width of this tool is actually too long for the diameter that this is making.
No, Jones.
And I think it's gonna bind.
Join the meeting.
So I'm gonna turn this off and continue from there.
Alan, it looks like the rings you're making are really dark. Is that because of the lighting, or is the wood different inside than it is outside?
It's the shadow. Let's see. Let's do this. It's definitely a shadow.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, mahogany is a pretty light colored wood, and it's I picked it because it's pretty tight grain, and I didn't want this to chip out too much. So now the trick is going to be to get this off. Let me go get another tool. I think we'll just try this with a screwdriver, see how it works. Wow, that glue does hold pretty well. It took off the plywood. All right, it's kind of rough. Let me hit this with some sandpaper real quick. So now what I want to do is I'm going to reverse this. And remember, I offset this center from the other side. So the circle is actually going to be on this side rather than this side. And I'm going to throw the tailstock back up here so I could find where the center is instead of just eyeballing it. You get it back on. Nice. So again, we're going to change the point. Grab my hot glue gun. I hear somebody whispering. What are you guys talking about? You guys talking about me? You, Darryl?
Oh, yeah, I think it's me.
How you been, buddy?
All right, how are you?
Pretty good.
That's
Yeah.
good.
All right, so at least I know that that's the center. Right there. Pop that back on real quick. All right. So, yeah, see how you always got to be careful? I was, when I put my fingers to that to sand it, a little piece of plywood was sticking up and I just poked myself. I got a little blood here. All right, so again, I'm going to do the outside ring again first. And this could all be cleaned up a little later. I would clean it up now if I wasn't doing a demo, but it'll be fine to just wait on that. Let's get that on there. Turn it by hand first. Good move. Now the idea of this is to go down to the rings on the other side. And hopefully that I measured well enough. I'm gonna go nice and slow when I get closer because it'll actually start hitting those other rings, and I don't want to tear them. All right, guys, if you could give me like 15 seconds, I'm gonna sharpen this again because it's starting to get a little. 2 seconds. Yeah, much better. Okay. So you guys can't really see this from where you are, but now I'm looking to see if I went through, and I haven't yet. You know, I had this trouble last time when I first tried this. For some reason, I guess I didn't measure well what halfway is, because I should be reaching those other rings by now, but I'm not. Still not. I don't get it. All right, you know what? I'm gonna go for this other ring. But like I said, I only played with this once before, guys. All right, this is kind of like the Twilight Zone now. I don't understand why this isn't going through. All right, that one's starting to go through. Let's see. I'm gonna go back here. Now, you guys aren't on the camera. You're probably not going to be able to see this until I actually pop this off. I think one of the other things is when you glue it on, if I look straight down this way, you can see that it's kind of a little bit wobbled. So part of it is going through on one side, but part of it isn't on the other side. I'm just going to have to go deeper because this is way past halfway. feel that bouncing. Still not through yet. All right, I'm gonna make one more ring. You guys got the That's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm gonna hit this outside one again one more time. So, I don't know if this is starting to make sense yet, but imagine I wanted this design on a trivet or a wall hanging or something, right? If I did this, when I went all the way through, obviously these rings would fall out, right? So let's pop this off. What to find, you know what? I am not prepared for this. Hold on a second, guys. Obviously, you need a chisel. An unanticipated just doing a number on my jig here. So, see if I could bring this out here so you can see better. I'm going to hold it up to the light, if that makes sense.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
So you could probably, let's see, makes sense.
Yeah.
Let me turn this light on, see if this helps. Go ahead.
We can see it.
Okay, so we have this set of rings here on this side, and on the other side, we have this set of rings, which is offset. And those rings are holding the other rings in. And what you can do with this, which I probably will do, like I said, you could actually put this on a wall, and whatever the background color is, like if we use white here, for instance, see if that makes sense. You'd be able to see the rings, but I'm thinking actually just using this as like a hot plate. And I really need to go in here. I don't know if you could see it on the let's see where you guys are, but it did go all the way through here on this for some reason. So I'm gonna have to go in there with a chisel and chop some of that out. But I might actually just take this and just route the edges to give it just to round it over, and then use it as a hot plate kind of thing. So
I like it.
It's kind of something that I never really ever do, and we've never done anything like this before. So I thought I would try it, and you guys basically get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't the most exciting thing just watching me plunge into those things, but let's see. We do have some more time, so I'm gonna pop this off real quick. And I was driving in Pittsburgh one day, and I found on the side of the road somebody had cut down. I think it might have been the town. They cut down this relatively large cedar tree, and they just left. They just left the parts, the pieces there. And I went there and I grabbed a bunch. I called Ken. He took a couple of pieces. Now the wood itself, to me, seems a little punky, like it's been dead for a pretty long time. But I did mount a piece on my faceplate, hoping to try a bowl. So if you guys don't mind, I might work on that. But I also did notice that I have a couple of cracks here, and I'm going to have to see how far. See how deep those cracks go.
Daryl Jones.
Join the meeting.
Whip this on. Now, I would like to bring my tailstock up. It's always a good idea when you can bring it up for safety. So I'm going to bring that back up.
Alan, if I could take just a second, Daryl, do you have internet? Do you have problems staying on your phone, Daryl? Oh, he's going, yeah, he's still,
There we go. Okay.
you're muted.
I'm muted.
No, Daryl is. I'll check with Daryl. Daryl, I'll check with you after this program.
All right. So let's see how that works out. Turn it by hand. So if you haven't been here when we worked on bowls before, this is actually going to be the bottom of the bowl, this part right here. So I'm going to round this over to get a basic shape, but I also need to leave what's called a tenon on the end, which is a part that sticks out that I could use to grab onto my chuck a little bit later. And I have to see how far hopefully I can get deep enough to go past these cracks. You can't see them in the video, but I can see them right here. But I'm just going to go after this pretty aggressively, so we're running out of time. And hopefully I don't get hit in the face. Come on, guys. I'm actually scaring myself. I'm going to put my faceplate on, which you should always do anyway. All right. If I say something with the faceplate on, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway. I'm so used to working with wet wood that this piece of wood being so light and dry, it almost feels like I'm working with paper. So because this is so deep, I'm actually thinking about, instead of just doing a regular bowl, I'm actually thinking about doing, let me show you this picture. You guys could see that.
Uh-huh.
It's rather than normally a bowl would be cut off right there and you'd have the bottom, but this actually continues up. Now you could do two things with that. You could actually put a lid on it and make it a box, or you could just leave it open, and instead it's not a bowl that you'd be able to eat out of, but it's something that you could put on your counter to throw your keys in or something like that. I have a few of them. I like it because once you have this little rim right here, you could actually use it to decorate. Starting to get a little far away from the tool rest, so I'm going to move that. Yeah, it's not even cutting that good because it's so punky. But we could finish it off a little bit later. That's why I wish I had a three horsepower lathe. So what I'm doing now is I'm working on that tenon for grabbing it later. A lot easier to square off the tenon with a straight tool. Actually, we use like a skew chisel. Just like that. I like to get the tenon out of the way as soon as possible because now I know where the bottom of my bowl is going to be. When you don't have that, that's an extra piece that it's hard to see in your mind. So now I'm just basically going to get the bottom shaped. Now, this cut that I'm doing is called a shear scrape. I don't know if you guys can see this well enough from where you are. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. But normally I go with a piece of wood like this and it's aggressive. But if you hit the tool like this and you just glide it, you get these really, really fine, tiny little shavings. And it gives you a really smooth, at least as smooth as a piece of wood can get. So this bottom still needs a lot of work, but right now, really, all I'm doing is getting an idea what the shape is going to be like. And so this is going to curve back in that way. And I'm thinking about it. I may leave a flat spot right here. And what that's going to do is give me a spot to maybe do a little decoration or something. So I'm going to keep that flat for a little bit and then start. I'm going to try to move the camera to this side. I'm sorry, was somebody saying something?
I don't think so.
All right, so I actually have to go deeper here. You see, when I tried to make this the size, I used an axe and it actually broke a piece off. So I'm actually going to have to make this smaller, obviously. So now, what's hard for you guys to see is now that I took more off here, this shape is not really as nice as it should be, but I did get past that part that I needed to. And I think I could live with that little crack right there. I could fill that in with some glue later. So I'm actually gonna take this off and reverse it. Like right now, I'm working left-handed because the camera is in the way, and I'm not as comfortable working lefty. So I'm afraid to get close to this. Let me real quick check the time. All right, I guess I have about 10 more minutes. So let me pop this off real quick. So I've got to take, let's see if I can twirl this around. I've got to take the screws out of here because we don't want that in here anymore. I know my battery's dying. Come on, you can do it. Just 2 more screws. Yes. Round. So now we're going to pop this on here, and we're going to hold it by that tenon. Okay. So let's see. It's turning pretty true. But I am going to bring the tailstock up for safety again. Move the camera back around so you guys can see the front. All right, get this. Yeah, it's wobbling a little, but we're going to have to deal with it. So let's get rid of all this scraggly part right here. I'm going to have to move the camera around the other side, guys. Sorry. So originally, I was planning on leaving the opening a little bit smaller, but I think since this is so wide, I think that's where the rim is going to be. So really, the next step would be to hollow this out, and it's up to you guys if you want me to continue, because I know how hollowing things out is a little boring for you to watch. But
Hollow it out. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Do
Go
it.
for the gold, you bet.
well, I'm certainly not going to finish it, but I'll get started on it. Let's see. I'm
I
gonna
have
All
a
right.
question.
Go for it.
I'm gonna define a little bit better.
Yeah.
You know, being on this side of the camera, it's always hard to tell what people are thinking on the other side because, I mean, I've watched lots of demos and I've thought to myself, like, oh my God, this is really boring. But like, I've always wanted to do for you guys a hollow form with a really small opening just to show you how it's done. But none of it you'd be able to see on camera. So I've been avoiding that. But this, I think we could see part of it. So let's move this around here.
Hey, Alan, I've got a short question.
Yes.
Is there a way you can take the piece that's touching your tailstock and make it the lid of the bowl you're getting ready to make?
Yeah, if I was a little bit more careful, certainly. The only problem is I was planning on not using that as the lid, and there's all these screw holes, and those screws go in about that deep.
No.
Yeah. Okay. But if it were not the case, you could use that as the lid, couldn't you?
Oh yeah, and what's nice about doing that, Ken, is all the grain would line up perfectly.
Oh, that'd be neat. I've never seen anybody do that. That's cool. Okay, thanks.
So what I would do is I would actually start turning this between centers, and I would put a tenon on both sides rather than using a faceplate where I'd have to screw it in.
Oh yeah,
This
I
way-
see. Yeah.
Once I cut the lid off, I still have a way to grab it. Then I could flip it around and then, yeah, basically like I make a box. Like you saw
Okay,
you got, right?
Yeah, I see. That's a great idea. Okay, thanks.
Sure. So I'm gonna try to leave the tail stuck on for a little bit. I'm gonna get a smaller tool. But this tailstock is really wrong tool. This tailstock is really in the way working. Yeah, trying to, you know what? I'm gonna have to take it off, I think. And let's hope. See, cedar splits real easy. It has pretty straight grain.
Mhm.
I mean, that's why they make cedar shakes out of it. You know, you can take a slab and just slice it into really thin pieces. So I hope that tenon will hold while I'm attacking it on this side. But since I'm in the front, if it goes flying, it's going to go that way, hopefully. Well, I'm going to keep the rim relatively thick right now because I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with the rim yet. So that's about a ½ an inch right there. Yeah, I can see it and feel it vibrating already. So of course, another thing that I could have did if I had the time is I'd actually hook this up and drill out part of that. So I wouldn't have to work so hard at the center here. I've got to move the camera back a little bit. The tripod's in the way. All right, so I'm not gonna go much deeper than that for now, because now, if you could picture this being a regular bowl with a kind of a flat side, I could easily get in here with this tool and start digging all the way to the bottom. But this bowl has a rim. You can't safely get one of these tools in there without really being really careful. So the best thing to do is you go as far as you can with a tool like this, and then you use a hollowing tool. And a hollowing tool is just a tiny little scraper. And I'll show you how I get underneath this rim here. And like it'll take another half an hour or more to actually do this whole bowl. So we won't do that, but I just wanted to show you this part. No, okay. I may have showed you this before, but this is a straight hollowing tool right here. And this one is curved. It's sticking out the side. So this is specifically to get in. Now imagine I'm hollowing something where the hole was only about that big. I would need this to get underneath the rim like this. So that's what I'm going to use this for. I'm going to go straight in with it. What's nice about hollowing something with a big opening like this is you don't have to turn it off every minute and blow the shavings out. All right, I just switched to the flat one. I needed to get a little bit out of the way so I could go in a little bit further with this. The only problem with these tools is they don't give you a very good finish because they're scrapers, especially on wood like this. That's real dry. Now, the toughest part about using this tool is the fact that the cutting edge is off center and the tool is constantly trying to do this, constantly fork on you. So this is one of those tools that you have to really hold tight or else it'll flip around and catch in there. So you want to actually make sure you keep it parallel as best you can on the way in. My chickens are talking to me. Can you hear them?
Yeah.
So let me check the time real quick here, guys. All right, it's 12:20, and I believe Jackie had another program to do. Actually, Chris is going to do her reading at 12:30. So I'm going to leave it at that. I just wanted to show you the different tools for getting in there. I'll probably actually, when I take this off, I'll probably drill that out and then work on the inside like that a little bit better. But let me just pop this off real quick so you guys get an idea. If I can find the tool, there it is. So put that away. So that's,
Nice.
well, I like the shape.
It's beautiful.
I like it.
Yeah. So when I do this with a piece of wood that doesn't have a lot of really cool figure like this, I actually use this area right here for like carving to give it some kind of texture or something like that. And like you saw in the picture, you could actually put a lid on this later on and actually turn it into a box. But I guess technically it's still a bowl, but you guys kind of get the idea. This still needs,
You can burn a little design into it.
yeah, exactly. You know, I have some pyrography tools that a friend of mine gave me a long time ago, and I hardly ever use them. You know, somebody who's a good artist would probably do a lot better than I do, but probably some kind of design would be really cool.
Yeah.
That's actually an interesting idea, Lynette. Let me explore that.
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah.
Nice piece of work, Alan. That's really pretty.
You get a
Or-
design on there, you can take your little wood burning tool and burn it in there.
So here's the other thing. A lot of times in wood turning, people do what they call collaborative projects, where I make the bowl and I give it to Lynette and she does the wood burning.
Hey, I'm not against it.
So there are some people who just have more talent in certain places than others. And I'm certainly no artist in that way. So, all right, guys, let me take the headgear off real quick and get back to,
You know what that reminds me of?
what's that?
A spittoon.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Listen, I just make them. You could use them for whatever you want.
You know how I am.
All right. Any questions?
I love the shape of that. That's very cool.
Thanks. Yeah, you know, one of these days I'd really like to spend some time and explore this whole thing a little bit more. I think it has potential, but I maybe watch some videos to see people who are really good at it. But yeah, I might even put like little feet on this or something. Maybe use it as a hot plate. Who knows?
It's a
It was
nice
just-
little. It'd be a nice trivet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something I've always wanted to try and play around with a little bit, but haven't had that much of a chance to do that. But so listen, guys, think about it. I mean, you know, maybe you look online. If you have any ideas that we could do for next time, yeah, let me